you did some work for some friends of ours, Donnie and Janelle Sharp.
Yes.
And we went and saw their shop. And he was so proud of your work. I mean, he was very happy with it. And then for the next several months, all we heard about, because I think you did it before winter.
Hey, welcome to all of our listeners to the Legacy Insights podcast. We are so excited to have you here, and whether you're chiming in on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, we are so excited that you have blessed us with your presence. Hey, this is the podcast that's full of stories, it's full of guidance and inspirations for entrepreneurs, no matter what stage of the business cycle they are in. So excited that you're here. Hey, I'm also want to kick us off with introducing our host, our co-host today. My name is Steve Duff, of course, Christina Howard.
Hello, everybody.
Franklin Morris.
Hello.
Tell you, it's not a podcast without those two, but it's really not a podcast unless we have a guest. And I am so excited about our guest today. This young man has got so much to share. Bailey Burleson is joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
We're
glad
so
you're
glad
here.
that you agreed to it. Thank you.
Yeah, we are so excited to have Bailey with us.
Well, Bailey, as Steve said, we're kind of here and we're talking about small businesses and entrepreneurs, and we're going to get to that part with you. But first, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your family, where you're from, that sort of thing.
So originally I'm from Yellville, Arkansas.
Yellville, Arkansas. Now, where is that exactly in Arkansas?
North
for our
Central
listeners?
Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Very small town.
Very, very small town. What's the population? 400?
Wow.
A little more than that, but I'm not sure exactly, honestly.
It's like
Not a very big
less than
town.
1,000, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I was guessing.
Yeah. And what is it famous for?
I would say Turkey Trot's the biggest one.
Okay, Turkey Trot sounds like it might be a race, but it's really not.
Exactly.
Can you tell our listeners
so
what the
they were-
Turkey Trot is?
What Turkey Trot originally was known for, and probably still is dropping birds out of airplanes.
I love
Turkeys.
it.
Turkeys, yes.
And then what happens?
You catch them for Thanksgiving.
Okay, so are they live turkeys?
They're live.
Okay.
I don't know if they still do it. I haven't been in a few years, so
Yeah, we're gonna have
there
to
was some
look that
problems
up.
with it with PETA. and
Yeah, I
everything
could see.
So-
I could see that there might be some protests come up on that eventually once the word got
Well, there
out.
has been, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
You know,
That
but
is
think about it,
pretty
a
funny.
live turkey catching that is probably a little better. At least they can do some flight.
Yes.
Versus a frozen turkey.
Yeah,
That-
I'm thinking the frozen turkey could be dangerous for everyone.
right,
Yeah, watch out.
right.
Well, that's awesome. So how did you get from Yellville, Arkansas, home of the Turkey Trot, to Grove, Oklahoma?
My wife Chase, so she's from here originally,
Mm-hmm.
and I met her in Stillwater whenever she was working going to school to be a nurse.
Okay.
At OSU, and then I was working in the oil field at the time, and so we made our way back here.
Yep, and she pulled you back here.
Pulled me back here, and I'm glad that she did because I really enjoy it in Grove.
Good. Tell us about your family.
So I have 6 children, 2 twin-year-old boys that are 12, turning 13. I have an 11-year-old son, 10-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old son, and then a 2-year-old daughter.
Blessed man.
So very blessed.
And
Yeah.
Busy.
Yes.
I have seen Facebook posts where you're on the sidelines of a youth football game, I believe. Are you coach?
Yes, I would say an assistant offensive line and defensive line coach. It's the team that my twin boys are on. It's 6th grade
Okay.
football.
Fun.
So
I bet that's good times.
it's fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Now, are you related to the Burlesons around this Grand Lake area?
I am not. I do work
Okay.
for Burlesons around here, but
Yeah.
I'm not from here originally.
Okay.
Or I'm not related to them, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I assumed initially that you were.
A lot of people
But-
do because there's
Yeah.
a lot of Burlesons around here.
Yeah, definitely there are, and they've been here for a long time. Well,
You know, one thing you need to mention that I'm so excited because Bailey and his wife Chase are also realtors
Yes.
with Legacy. So they joined us. What has it been? It's been less than a year, wasn't it?
Getting close to a year.
Yeah, several months, and doing a great job. Doing a great job. They're getting some listings, and he's working some buyers. So
As with
Yeah.
a lot of entrepreneurs, very busy
Yes.
in different directions.
yes,
And then you have also another business, is that correct? And what's the name of that business, and how long have you been in that business?
I do. It's Burless and Foam Insulation. I've been in business. This is my 6th year now.
Wow. So, what got you into doing this, and what makes you different? I read a book called YouTube Secrets, and it said being different is better than being better. So, what makes your company so different?
I would say the biggest thing that makes us different, in my view, is I'm very particular on our finish work. You know, when we leave, I like the house to be cleaner than when it was when we went in.
Nice.
And just being very particular. There's a lot of companies, unfortunately, I feel like that aren't as particular.
well, and what you do is unique too. The foam insulation
Yes.
versus, I guess, is it fair to say that the traditional was the batten or the spray-in cellulose?
Yes.
Are there? So,
And we do bat insulation as well, and then blown-in insulation. But I would say 97% of the work we do is spray foam.
Okay, if you could just break that down to someone that has no idea what foam insulation is, what is foam insulation?
And
So-
the benefits of it.
Yeah.
So the biggest benefit I would say with spray foam insulation is the air seal that you get with it. I mean, it gets every crack and crevice that you can imagine. Where with bat insulation, you still have you don't get a true air seal with it.
yeah.
Spray foam insulation comes out as a liquid, and it's a 2-part chemical. You have an A side and a B side, a resin side and an iso side. They don't meet until it actually comes out of the gun, and they have to meet at the right time. So everything has to work just right
Kind of a
to get a
science
good.
to it.
Yes, there is.
It sounds like it. You did some work for some friends of ours, Donnie and Janelle Sharp.
Yes.
And we went and saw their shop. And he was so proud of your work. I mean, he was very happy with it. And then for the next several months, all we heard about, because I think you did it before winter, and then all we heard about was how warm it was staying all winter. And he could watch from his phone, even when he was out of state, the temperature of the shop, and he knew exactly what the temperature was of the shop. And he was very, very happy with your work.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it is. Which
It's always
is,
nice to
and
hear
he
what
was
people
so
are.
happy that's why we called you, and we've got you lined up too. So
That's good.
I'm excited about that.
I
Yeah.
think people really want people that are honest. They want people that do quality work. So that's really good to hear about your work. And did you get up one day and say, "Okay, I'm just going to do foam insulation"? Like, what
How
got
did
you
that come about?
to want to get to that point?
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in here real
Yeah.
quick because I had the opportunity to, Bailey and I went to a listing appointment and had an opportunity to kind of just hear Bailey's background because he mentioned he's in the oil field.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's so fascinating that how he got to this point in a sense in my mind because it wasn't just going right in family visits,
Right.
anything like that. I mean, he kind of progressed to it. So I love your question, and I just kind of wanted to do that little lead in too because you have an interesting background for a young person and how you progressed to where you're at.
I appreciate it. I would say, so 12 years ago, when I was 19, 20 years old, I worked for a spray foam insulation company for about 2 years before I went into the oil field. And I learned a lot in that time. Obviously, I didn't know how to run a business, but I knew the kind of the ins and outs
To
of
do
spray
the
foam
work.
insulation. And got out of it, went to, try to chase more money. And then when the oil field slowed down in 2015, that's when we moved to Grove. And then I started as a car salesman. I worked as a car salesman for 4 years and was just ready to I wanted to do my I guess, do my own thing. And spray foam insulation was something that I knew, and seeing that there was a lot of building in Grove, I'd done some research. There was no one in Grove at the time that was doing spray foam insulation, so
Wow.
I thought that would be
So
Saw the
good to add it.
opportunity.
I saw an opportunity.
Right.
I think some people know that they might be able to do something, but they don't take the step of actually doing it. So what was your mindset that led you to actually do what you wanted to do in terms of the business?
Well, it was scary for sure. It took me a while to even go to the bank and talk to them about getting the loan to start a business, but
That's a very intimidating step for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
it is, and I think sometimes we make it seem as if it's harder than it
Right.
actually is.
So,
You know,
Overthink it.
absolutely.
we overthink.
I
it
can tend to
completely,
do
yes.
that.
And your biggest fear is, well, what if it doesn't work? You know.
Right.
But really, just making that jump. My wife is the one that I think pushed me the hardest to actually just take the step.
You
to
had
go
that
do
support.
I did. She's been a huge support system for me for several years. But I would say the biggest advice that I would have as far as if you want to start your own business is just do it.
Yeah.
Go 100% at it and just do it.
You just have to make that mental decision. I'm not going to just talk about this. I think a lot of people get stuck in the phase of talking about it, thinking about it, wishing that they were doing something on their own, not working at a dealership or whatever, but having more control of their life. But then you have to one day say, okay, today's the day, and now I'm forming my business and stepping into it.
For sure, and you have to put plan. I mean, you obviously have to have a plan put in
Right.
place. But you can't go into it, just halfway commit.
Right.
But the biggest thing is just take the step and fully commit.
I think that I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, there's certainly a place for planning, but there's also a big place, in my opinion, for just going with your gut and your instinct. That, like,
The action.
you saw a market opportunity, and it's like I said, I think that one of the biggest hurdles, in my opinion, just for whatever it's worth, is overthinking. I think there's those that just want to have all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed, and you miss out on an opportunity, in a sense, or just never make that jump and just, I wish I had, you know what I mean? And I think that's
Franklin and I are both, I believe, fans, I can say, of the YouTube business model. And
Yes.
someone that we realize that we both kind of listen to that teaches in that field, Sean Cannell, he said, just hit record. And that's kind of the same thing with any business that you start. Maybe record isn't the right word, but you just have to hit go at some point. You can stay in the planning phase for way too long. But
Yeah.
You just have to, sometimes I think, hit record and then figure out the kinks. So did you find yourself doing stuff like that, figuring it out as you went along also? Even though you had already had a couple of years in the business, was there, figuring out how to work the Grand Lake market, that type of thing?
There is, and that's something that I've learned, along the way is, figuring out what works for me. I mean, every business is a little different, in their marketing strategy and how they run their business. But there's been a lot of trial and error, obviously.
Yeah.
But biggest thing that I feel like has been the biggest benefit to us is customer service.
Yes.
I think people in Grove, if you are honest and you have quality work, I think that people will tell other people about you. This is a small town. I think that's how Grove works. I am not a construction worker. I have never done any spray foam installations or anything like that, but that's a general observation I have of Grove. But have you had any challenges in your business, and what is your mindset in approaching those type of challenges?
I've had several challenges. I would say more so along the lines of equipment breaking down. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts in our
But there are.
box trucks and stuff. And when something goes down, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
And you're
it's
on the
stressful.
job in the middle of the
You're on
spray
the job in the
when
middle
it
of
goes
doing
down.
it. You're on
Yeah.
a time schedule because, we do mainly new construction, so they're wanting to get sheetrock delivered immediately. and
You're
get
holding
sheetrock
up the
coming.
next
You're holding
step.
up progress for the next step.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is not overthinking it. Something breaks down, keeping a clear head and, just working through it.
React.
React.
Get it taken
Yes.
care of.
You just have to react. That's the
Mhm.
biggest one.
And I guess one of my other questions I had for you is why did you decide to go into two businesses? Because you are a realtor plus you're doing foam insulation. So why do both of them?
I enjoy real estate, whether it's construction or, being a part of the buying process of a home or selling a home. I just really enjoy real estate, honestly, more than anything. And I have 6 children and I have to work a lot. So
That makes a difference. Groceries
that plays
are
a
not
factor
getting
too,
cheaper.
so, yes, but I just enjoy it, every aspect of it.
So what type of advice? Because I know that we've got listeners out there that are either seriously considering getting into business themselves, or it's just one of those thoughts. What advice would you give a young person, any person, that is out there thinking, I got this great idea, but do I do it or not? What advice would you give someone like that?
Do it. Put it into, obviously, build a plan. Build a plan for yourself, and do your research. Make sure there is a market for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something that you truly believe in, don't wait. If you wait around for the perfect time will never come.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things and I kind of got caught in that. I would say there was a couple month window there that I kind of got caught into waiting for is this the right time? And I don't think there's ever a perfect time, but
Yeah.
the right time is now.
And I think that's natural, though,
It is.
I think.
You had kind of mentioned earlier the fear of failure, and I think that holds a lot of people back. But I am kind of a believer that you have to just change your mindset about that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is no failure. Maybe it's success or you learn. You
Right.
know,
Oh, that's a
so
great
if you
way of
have
putting
to
it.
pivot, it's a pivot, not a failure. Maybe you learned that this market isn't right for it, but now you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or, that maybe spray foam wasn't the thing and people want the traditional rolled, here, which was not the case at all. But that could have been what you found out, and then you just pivot.
You adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if I've said this on the podcast, forgive me, but it's just how ingrained that comment that was made to me by a very, very successful businessman that had close to retirement, and he has since passed away. But what he commented to me was so ingrained that I use this often. And this was actually after I had started a little company back when I was probably y'all's age, and it didn't work out. And he made a comment. He said, sometimes you got to try something to know it's not what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I love what you were saying. It's not failure.
Yeah,
It's education.
not right.
You know,
Absolutely.
You don't fail unless you just walk away and throw your hands up.
Right.
But it's education. And I also love what you said. Sometimes you got to pivot
Mm-hmm.
and react
Mm-hmm.
on there. But certainly don't want to give the impression that we're just saying, hey, just jump on out there. I mean, there has to be a certain level of planning. There has to be, you were blessed that Chase and supported you and your endeavors. And I think all of us here that say we had somebody there that supports us or has supported us. And that's so important too.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a big hockey player, but I mean, I don't watch the hockey, but I know there's a really good saying from Wayne Gretzky that said something like, "You miss every shot you don't take."
Oh, I love
So
it.
like,
Yeah, that's great.
it's
Heard that
important
before.
to not worry about the failure. But how do you actually plan? Or what was part of you going into like planning for your business?
Part of it for me was doing research and finding out, I would say cost is one. You know, can I compete with other companies that are coming in outside of town? And then for me, I started making phone calls to builders whenever I was just in the planning process, you know, just
Oh,
to
smart.
make sure that there was a market. Ask them if they would give me a chance if I, you know, once I did start, and then building a plan off I just built myself a business plan, more so for myself than anything, but part of it, you know, my marketing strategy was involved in that, and then pricing obviously is involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So marketing strategy. In fact, I was behind one of your trucks just literally the other day. How's that worked out? I mean, a big wrapped truck right there.
It's a big
BFI
moving
on
billboard.
it. It sure
That's
is.
the biggest way that you know, that was one of the first things that I was hoping to accomplish, is being able to get my trailers and stuff wrapped, because it is a moving billboard and it's paid for itself.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's been a great advertisement.
So you would suggest that to someone in a trade type of business, that's
Right.
really something to look into.
If all you have is a pickup, not even a trailer wrap, you know, get something on your vehicle, you know,
Yeah.
to advertise your business.
I know it catches my attention too when
Mm-hmm.
I see vehicles rolling down the road that say that, and it makes you think differently about the business too, because obviously they're committed and they're taking it pretty serious.
Right.
If they've wrapped their vehicle,
Right.
you know.
Right.
You know, I'm even I've got twin boys too. I'm wondering how it'd be to maybe wrap them as they go about there. I mean, that would get a lot of attention too. Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
There you guys are
clothes.
running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Track
Just,
meet.
mhm.
Yeah.
Have
there
a
you go.
wrapped outfit.
Legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah. There you
Burless
go.
and Foam. Your twins.
Yeah.
I've always
The
have-
kids. Oh, you've got 6 kids. Of course, my older kids, they probably would resist
Yeah.
that.
They'll be
but-
like, no, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any parting advice at all for? We've talked a little bit about just anyone wanting to go into a business, but niching down a little bit, and maybe someone wanting to go into a trades business, maybe plumbing, thinking about becoming an electrician, something like that. So many people, you know, you go to college and you're going to become a nurse or a CPA or something like that, but there is a whole nother field that has so much success opportunity, which is being in the trades field. Do you have any advice for people in a somewhat smaller area, like the Grand Lake area, that is thinking about going into that? Do you see that that is a good opportunity for people?
For sure. You know, especially construction there's a lot of building that goes on in the Grand Lake area.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think it's hard to see because we don't have as many big subdivisions where 200 houses are going up at the
Right.
same time. Instead, they're hidden all over the lake. So do you see a lot of that, like you're traveling to different spots instead of landing in one subdivision?
Every day I stumble across houses. I think I have the area laid out pretty well, and I'm all over the Grand Lake area, you know, almost on a daily basis driving around, and I feel like I see a new house going up that I didn't even know about every day.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you service any other areas besides Grand Lake?
We do, so we can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We try to keep it. The majority of our business is in Grove or the Grand Lake area, but we travel to Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, 4-state area mainly.
Yeah.
What I don't think it was mentioned too. I mean, we had talked about spray foam shop, but commercial buildings and obviously homes. Talked about that. So, it's a wide base of structures that you can
Yes, we do
take care of, you service.
residential and construction, or I'm sorry, residential and commercial. We do both, metal buildings, you name it, we
Probably a
can
lot of
spray
metal
it.
buildings,
So
I bet.
we do several metal buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the vast majority of the work that we do is new construction homes, but
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of metal buildings as well.
What do you enjoy most of what you're doing? We'll wind down with the question. What do you enjoy most about having your own business?
Businesses.
Business is, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Interacting with people, I think, is a big one for me. I really enjoy interacting with people.
We can tell. You're very personable, very kind young man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So,
And as I said, we have you scheduled. Haven't got it done yet, but going off of what our friend said, who actually has built, I don't know how many houses, I think he said a few hundred houses
Wow.
he's built. He was thrilled with your work. So I would say highly recommended.
That's great. I appreciate that. That's always good to hear.
Yes, absolutely. So if anyone wants to contact you, they can call you at 918-801-3120. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there another way to reach out to you?
So you can message us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page.
What is your Facebook page called?
Burless and Foam Insulation is a Facebook page. That's actually the profile picture. There our logo is.
BFI.
Yes.
So they can reach out to you there, give you a call, text you.
Yes, you can text that number as well.
Okay,
So
great.
well, with that, I think it's about time we'll need to start winding down our podcast. I do want to. I feel good that we kind of covered all the areas of our tagline. We had some great stories, fun, and that's where I want to. This is my disclaimer to the world that I am not going home and wrapping my kids. That's a joke. You know, for those who.
Did you hear what Steve
Yeah,
said?
yeah. As my wife calls it, is sick humor.
Yeah.
So, but no, there's no deaf children, or at all, or grandchildren. Throw that in there too. They're not going to be wrapped. As tempting as it is,
T-shirts.
It won't happen.
There you
T-shirts. I
go.
love it.
Yeah.
No, so excited. Bailey, thanks for taking the time
you,
to
Bailey.
visit with us.
Appreciate
I
it.
think that
Thanks for having me.
certainly had a lot of good guidance from what you're visiting with us about, and I think hopefully our listeners can take a lot of that away and apply it maybe in some way in their personal life, but then also inspiration too. Someone like yourself doing well, and wish you all the best in everything that you do. So with that, we'll go ahead and finish it up. Again, enjoy you, our listeners, and our YouTube watchers for joining us. If you liked what you saw or what you heard, hey, please like it on the Apple or Spotify, or I guess you can do it on YouTube too, can you?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
YouTube.
Like, subscribe, share.
The whole works. Do it all and recommend us to someone else. So with that, we will join you at our next airtime. Thank you.